Hello, and I just want to make a quick video. Um, I hope it's quick. My wife says I can't do anything very quick. Uh, so hopefully I'm going to try to keep this under 10 minutes. All right, 15 seconds in. Here we go. I want to take a moment and show you Khan Academy in the best way that I can. I want to log out here and go from the beginning. Who's this video for? This video is for students, but it's also for parents. In my classroom, I really don't use a textbook, and in the past, that's been much more of a problem for the parents than it has been for the student. And I certainly understand. This is not something that's difficult for me to understand. I understand that even when I came through school, I did all kinds of problems out of the book. Teacher had homework almost every night, particularly at this level and above. And I did things out of the book. The odd problems in the back of the book had the answers, but the even problems didn't, something like that. And so when I don't use a textbook, often parents find themselves in a situation where, well, how am I supposed to help my child if you're not even issuing a textbook? You expect me to remember all this stuff? And certainly the answer is no. I wouldn't remember it. It would be a chore right now for me to teach something like calculus because I haven't done that in quite a while. But I want to introduce you to this system because it is extremely helpful, and in my experience, it's been something that most parents aren't aware of, and they certainly don't know how to navigate it, so I hope that this video offers a little bit of support. So I'm going to log in. Honestly, I log in with my Google email account. Students actually will do the same in my classroom. Parents, you can create an account if you want to. It's pretty simple. I'm sure that you've signed up for things before. I'm just going to log in with my Google account. I have two. I'm log in with this one. Allow. All right. What's going to come up first for me is they call my dashboard, but I signed up as a teacher, so this looks a little different than what a student would see. Let's go to the student view. There's going to look more like this. For me, it's got something that I was currently working on or something that I've participated in recently. I don't know what it'll look like to a first timer. To be honest with you, I think first time logging in, the system's going to want to try to diagnose where you're at in terms of learning mathematics. So it's going to give you a probably like a 12 to 15 question, what's called an adaptive test. It means the questions change as you answer the questions. If you're answering poorly, it's going to try to reduce the level of the questions to try to diagnose, what grade or what level is this student learning at. If you're doing really well, you may find that the questions get harder and harder as you go. Again, trying to find where you're located in this spectrum of mathematics. That's just a practice thing. You can complete that. It's no big deal for purposes of my class. So here's Khan Academy. Most people that have heard of Khan Academy think of it as this humongous library of videos, because that is the way it was started. It was created by a man named Sal Khan, and he started making videos, putting them on YouTube as a way to tutor his nieces and nephews that lived across the country. It has shifted several years now into this vast system of exercises that they've written that, to be honest with you, are getting better and better each year. They've written them at a level that is pretty challenging and rigorous for students. So I'm going to show you as a parent. You say, well, how can I use this with my kid? In class, I always assign exercises. I'll write them on my board. In Canvas, I might list a list of exercises in Canvas that students can begin working on. And you literally can access those exercises yourself just by typing them in this search bar. So we may do something like early algebra, two-step equations. There you go. I'm just going to search that keyword or that key phrase. You would note that perhaps the internet is not going to work at the moment that I'm trying to make a video. Okay, what's the deal here? It says we're logged in. Let's try that again. Oh, it worked. Okay, just had to give it a minute. Two-step equations. I'm not seeing the one I want. Okay, let's just do an intro. Let's see what comes up. All right, you're going to see, since we searched a topic like two-step equations, you're going to see about everything that Khan Academy will offer in that area of two-step equations. So it's going to begin with some instructional videos. Just take the teacher's role in the classroom and replace it with a video. If you were home and you didn't have access to the teacher at that moment, you may want to try some of these videos. You can see how long they are. They purposely don't try to include videos that last a really long time. So the system works like this. They feel that if you actively watch these videos, and I'm going to model how students can actively watch. They just don't hit play, prop their feet up on a chair, and watch for 10 minutes and expect to soak in all this new knowledge just because they sat and watched a video. It really doesn't work like that. But in class, honestly, I'll do most of the instructing. Don't worry about that. At home, you could access the practice problems and work them out with your son or daughter. Here's how these work. All right, we've got one problem. Oh, good, they even threw in some distributive property here. That's good. All right, well, you can see that I've accessed this assignment in the past because it shows that I had previously had 2 in a row. But if you were starting this from scratch, this would be blank. At this point, you have not demonstrated anything to the system in relation to two-step equations. It doesn't know if you can do it or if you can't do it. So let's just do a little solving here. My students have dry erase markers and whiteboards almost all the time, and they'll do a lot of their work that way. I do not discourage anyone from doing the work on paper and pencil. So they're welcome to do it that way too, particularly if they'd like to save their work and look at it later. So let's work this out. If you multiply the 7 and distribute that term to the z and the -3, what do we have? 7z minus 21. If you add the 21 to both sides, you've got, what you got over there on the other side, 63. And if you divide by 7, you've got 63 divided by 7. Certainly I would not offer any instruction like that. I was just doing that in the interest of time. Correct. Go to the next question. Now let's just pretend that this one really stumped us, and if you were a student, you just didn't know what to do. If you were home and you were helping your child, son or daughter, and even you were stuck, this was something you hadn't had for several years, and you wanted to ask for a hint, you're welcome to do that. May give you some steps here. You can actually ask for the hint all the way down to the solution to the problem. And I realize this is a kind of a foreign way of learning. A lot of people have told me in the past, I just do better if you just sit down and show me. Well, and that's perfectly fine. And in the classroom, that's what I do. When I'm not in the classroom, and this is what I'm making this video for, this is some way, a way that you could offer your son or daughter some support. And again, just think of this as a textbook. I mean, you wouldn't get any more or less support if you were using a textbook. In fact, you would probably get less support using a textbook because it doesn't check the problems for you. So even if we go down to the solution, and even if this stuff here may not make a whole lot of sense to you, I can put in r equals 45. Correct. Now notice what it did up here on the bar. It's noted, the system has, that I had to ask for a hint. It uses a light bulb to indicate a hint there. So it's not going to give me credit for that question in terms of determining proficiency, which means can you do that correctly? Can you do that? Have you demonstrated that you can accurately solve problems like this? So let's go to the next one. All right, I think about it for a while, and I'm going to think C is 4, and that's what I come up with. Ah, bummer, I missed it. So you can see that it marked it with an X. Again, it's not going to demonstrate, it's not going to deem that proficient to me, to the system. So I've still got to work to get 5 in a row before I can, I'll talk about the educational theory behind all this in my classroom, but you can't move on, and it wouldn't make sense in math class to move on until you've demonstrated to yourself that you know how to do that prior subject. Math builds, a lot of concepts and skills build upon themselves. So, okay, well, if I had an alternate, I guess or an idea, I could input that. But again, I could certainly go to the hints, but I could also do this. What if the hints weren't working? Maybe I could just watch a video of a teacher, and this is going to be Sal Khan. You hear his voice, working out a problem on the board, so to say. And maybe I could watch him work that problem out, and something may click, and that may help me in the future. And maybe I could come back to this problem and work it out again. And that's exactly how it works. And again, I'll use this in the classroom on how students can actively watch a video and try to soak in some of the information. You hit the pause button, try to make predictions about what's coming up next. You can rewind, you can fast forward, you want to listen to something again, you can, but you have to actively listen, just like you would in the classroom. I certainly wouldn't want anyone just sitting passively in my classroom hoping to soak up a lot of the knowledge, because it certainly doesn't work like that. All right, that's how that works. You can search for any topic, but you can also do this, and I kind of want to expose this to some of the parents because I think some of them may be interested in this. this math curriculum, if you will, is totally aligned or tailored to be honest with you, I know it has a bad connotation in West Virginia, to the Common Core curriculum, to the standards. You're not going to read any of the standards in like the educational lingo, and I'll show you what they look like. And don't get frustrated by the word Common Core. Be honest with you, I'll reveal some of my opinion here. It hasn't really changed. The standards are the standards. They're not asking kids to learn anything new than they were asking them before. That's disregarding states' rights, federal rights, all that kind of stuff. But all right, Algebra 1. Now, you will see, and I know I'll hear this from parents, why don't they have Math 1, 2, 3? That's not, honestly, that's not a nationwide deal. West Virginia decided to do that, but a lot of states still aren't doing that. So Algebra 1 be the bulk of what freshmen students tackle in their math class. If you want to view a full list of algebra content, you can do so. And again, even after you click that Algebra 1 tab, what it's likely going to do is give you a pretest. It's going to ask you to answer 5 to 8 problems on algebra concepts just to see if you know what you're doing or not. You can always click out of that and just not even do that pretest. That's no big deal. So let's just look at all these topics. First, what you're going to see are broad topics of Algebra 1. Introduction, linear equations, inequalities, functions, sequences, clear down to quadratic equations. What you can do is just open some of these up, linear equations. What you'll see now is the entire curriculum Khan Academy has on those particular topics. Excuse me, that was rude. Those particular topics. So you see some videos here, you noted by the play button. And again, if you think of this as instruction, this would be a great system for someone that has zero access to a teacher, quality instruction. Somebody in Calcutta, India, that doesn't have access to a teacher, could do some measure of learning with a system like this. And honestly, the videos aren't too bad. They may sound a lot like the kinds of instruction that you received when you were in school. Honestly, math hasn't changed a whole lot. Okay. But you can access exercises this way. You can review the videos with your son or daughter related to that particular topic. And again, what I've heard from parents is, Mr. Oldfield, what we just did, we just typed in the search bar and we found it that way. And we found that was pretty effective. And you're welcome to do it that way. I just wanted to show you this, and that the whole entire system here is aligned, categorized for you. So you don't have to really do a whole lot of searching. Notice also the other tabs here if you're interested in any of that. There's some test prep here. They're SAT in line, not ACT. I use sophia.org to study for ACT. I can talk about that in another video. We'll do some of the computer science in December. There's Hour of Code Week. That's an international event, and my students always participate in that. This is kind of cool. But so anyway, let's go back to the homepage. I hope you found something in this video that was helpful. I use a lot of graphs, and while I have you on here, I think I have about 2 minutes until my time runs out. I want to show you one of the graphs that I use in the classroom. All right, let's go to expressions, exponents, period. Good one. Using exponent rules to evaluate expressions. Previously, I taught 8th grade math, and this is in one of the standards of 8th grade. You can tell at this particular class that my students were pretty well split. And at the time that I asked them to do this, some point last year, I would have looked at a graph similar to this and found that, well, after a few days of instruction, some practice time, I see that a number of my students were in the blue area, which basically just means they have demonstrated proficiency to the system and to themselves. They were able to get 5 correct in a row. And then these students have not. The gray means they haven't even started it yet. So what I may be able to do is use a little peer tutoring to match some of these students up with these, or I may give something to these students, and now I may just be able to sit in a small group with these and say, hey guys, let's knock this out. I'm going to give you my total attention this period. All of this group of kids have something to do already, and I'm going to really target my instruction to these 3. I can even look even further. I don't have time to show you at a more detailed graph to see what exactly students are inputting as their results and try to diagnose what they're doing wrong a lot quicker. So again, feel free to contact me. I hope you got something out of this video. I apologize I talked so long. Thanks for staying with me.